You try to get it all together, huh?
Okay. I'm calling the meeting to order, the Park and Recreation Commission, March 9th at 6:31 PM. Roll call, Marmion present.
Bolligoff present.
Fryer present.
Jimenez, present.
Len's present.
Drutz present.
Drutz present.
Covino present.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda, deletions, additions, and changes.
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of minutes of February 10th, 2016.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Citizen communications. We have none. Moving on. Old business, goal-setting workshop update.
So just a reminder that we have our goal-setting workshop this Friday at 4 p.m. here in the community meeting room. And hopefully you all received the email encouraging you to come prepared with a couple of ideas for goals and priorities for the coming year and beyond. So if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you on Friday for that.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody have any comments or any? Okay. Okay. New business, budget review and input. Attachments. Did everybody bring their budget?
I did.
Okay, so how do we want to do this? We want to go page by page?
Pardon me?
We're going to go page by page?
I don't
Yes,
care.
please.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
so direction from the city manager on budgets this year is a 2% increase in the supplies and services budget for the departments. The costs for salaries and benefits are covered by contract, and those will be included in people's budgets. Just to let you know, Noreen and I are going to be working on Monday to figure out what a 2% increase looks like for the Parks and Recreation Department's budget. The challenge is that over the last 3 years for Parks and Recreation, we were doing budgeting by programs or by activity as per the City Council. Those activities include not only supplies and services, but also the salaries and the benefits of employees who work in those programs. So I couldn't just tell you today here's what a 2% supplies and services increase for particular activities or programs are. So just to give you, anything above that 2% is going to be something that the City Council is going to be looking at as a new program or in addition to an existing program. So that will be something that will be called out separately in the budget.
Okay.
Not to stop you from making requests, but just to let you know how that process will be. The city manager will be presenting his budget to the City Council probably I'm hoping at the very beginning of June, and we would be then having budget meetings in June for all the different departments as we normally do. And then the adoption of the budget would either be June 16th if I get very lucky and we're able to schedule a lot of meetings in early June, or June 30th would probably be the other date that it could be adopted.
Okay. Okay, on this first page of the budget, I have one question here. Under special department expense, it's 52241. And what you have under 2014-15 requested budget, it says 198,115, and then for 15-16, it's only 3,000. That kind of
Right, so that would be the addition, I believe it was probably the pool. There was a number of items under special department expenses in 14-15 that we had done.
okay.
So this is this is all the departments, all the costs added together. So part of that is the $100,000 for the resurfacing
Okay,
and replastering of the pool floor, and also the $80,000 for the concrete.
okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
We
Okay,
didn't
so-
have, we didn't have to do that twice,
right, right,
thank God. It worked the first time.
okay. Okay, does anybody else have any questions on? Okay, well, we'll go,
Is this working? It sounds like it is. Okay. So for 52232, the additional 10,000 is the additional 10K for trails. Is that right? Okay, 18 to 28. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
well, you know what, I have that underlined too, and on page 73, it just goes from 52231 to 52233. There is no 52232. On page 73, 173.
173.
When I
Correct.
was going back over to read, see, at first, if you remember the budget, he kind of has the figures, and then in the back, it kind of
So,
explains.
okay, so let me go through a quick explanation of what
Yeah.
you're looking at. So the first 2 pages is the overall departmental budget. The then when you flip to page 172, if you see, it says Recreation Administration. And so this is just for the administration portion of the budget.
Right.
And then it goes through, the top portion is the salaries, count number 51101, where it's the salaries. Those are full-time salaries. So that would be Noreen, it would be Tricia, it would be a portion of me, it would be a portion of the supervisors. Part-time salaries is any part-time people that we need to help us in the office. Then you go through the list of the benefits, the 51502, all the way through 51710, which is all the benefits that we provide. That's all calculated out based on salaries. Also, as you see, it's also about what we provide for flexible benefits for health, retiree health, and other types of things. The next section is insurance, which is our liability insurance and workers' compensation. Then we get to the supplies and services and supplies. So these are the services and supply count numbers which specifically apply to Recreation Administration. So not all the numbers that you see on pages 1 and 2, on the first 2 pages, will apply for each and every one of the of the divisions within the department. Then if you flip the page from 172 and you flip it to 173, you will see more of the detailed types of expenses that we have within the different expenditure accounts in supplies and services. So if you look at, for instance, 52231, equipment maintenance, we budget $200 a year for office equipment repairs. So if the computer goes out, if we need a new printer, stuff like that, it would be covered through that. We then have all the memberships that we provide, that we pay for.
Administration.
You have office expenses, as you would think, it'd be the postage, the office supplies. The sign maker used to be here, but I think we've moved that into another area. The online registration fees are here. We don't, so these are the costs, what we pay for being able to have the online registration through ActiveNet. This is what it costs us as a city to provide for that. And then the special departmental expenses, and it just goes on through like that. Then if you flip to page 176, you see recreation, parks, and facility operations, and you see here you have supplies, you have salaries, you have benefits and insurance. This is just for full-time people because, as I said, we no longer do this same kind of accounting and budgeting for these kinds of things. But if you flip to the next page, page 177, you will see the cost for Mission Blue, the cost, for each of the facilities we maintain or we run. And this isn't the maintenance costs for these. The Public Works Department maintains our facilities, so this is just the cost from the Parks and Recreation to put for our activities. So the cost for Mission Blue would be our cost for having people there during the rental period. It's not the cost of the maintenance of the facility in and of itself.
With staff.
It's staff.
It's always staff, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what you'll notice is on the backup pages for that, pages 178 and 179. Actually, this is this is more landscape, and what you'll have is the actual expenditures and actual revenues for the different facilities. I will let you know just for now is that the $80,000 in revenues for Mission Blue, it does not look like we're going to be getting that, and that I just talked to that with the facilities subcommittee. We're well below that number. It seems as we're not quite getting the number of rentals that we haven't been in the past. But we run through every single one, and then as you flip to, and I'll stop going division by division on this one. But if you flip to 180 and you look at recreation youth activities, again, supplies, salaries, and benefits are all full-time people only. And then you flip to the next page and you'll see every single activity we provide for youth in our town broken out. You flip to the next page and the 13-14 actuals is our best, it's what it costs us to put the programs on, and then the actual revenues. Then you get to the user question, and user questions are very difficult for us at times because where it shows K through 5th grade basketball, we had 10 users. Other places where you'll look at, you might have a higher number of users, such as an, not here, but probably in others, because I was about to say after school program. But the question is you get, the question when you talk about users, is it unique users or is it user days, user hours? And I will tell you that depending on the type of program we have and whether or not we can actually identify whether they were unique or not, we've used both at times in this, in different places. And then if you go all the way to the back and you flip to page 197, which is aquatics, which is all the way at the back. Here we did not break it down by program, but we put it back into the same way that you saw the administrative budget, where we look at aquatics as a single type of program. We didn't break it out by swim lessons, because what usually happens in the pool is that you will have multiple purposes going on at the same time. You'll have lap swim at the same time that you would have swim lessons, or you might have a portion of the pool being used for aerobics when maybe a portion of the pool is also open for free swim. So since it's hard to say what portion of the pool and what portion of people's time is being used for each of those individual programs, we just used it as a single budget. So it's back into that format of, salaries and supplies and services. Hopefully that gives you enough information to work with on the budget. And then in this year, we're going to do it all differently again. We are going to a priority-based budget where we're going to not look at it as activity by activity, but look at it by more programmatic. So one of the programs that you will see for us this year will be indoor facilities. Another program would be outdoor facilities. So we're not going to look at it facility by facility, but how much does it cost us to work with our outdoor facilities and how much with our indoor facilities. When you look at something like our youth programs, where right now you see activity by activity, I think what we're going to be looking at it, if I'm not mistaken, is those programs that happen during the school year and those programs that happen outside of the school year for youth. So we're going to have it be different that way. And then for the pool, we're going to have on-season and in-season and off-season.
I have a question through the chair about that. If we're doing it that way, Stuart, then how do we make decisions in the programming subcommittee or programs generally as to the relative success of different programs if we can't break them out?
We will, through ActiveNet, you will still be signing up for individual programs. So we will be able to, through, different type of work from staff, put together what it cost us to run a program. We will know how many hours it costs of staff time to run the program. We will also have the ability through ActiveNet to say, here's what that program brought in. So we'll still be able to do that kind of work. It won't be part of the budget, because when you're talking about the budget and you're talking about city council making decisions, you want to keep the council decisions more at a policy perspective. are we providing the right kind, are we providing enough programming for these types of activities or these types of groups, demographics? At a commission level, you may want to look at, does this activity work or does that activity work? We could provide that information, but when you're thinking about it from a citywide budget perspective and comparing youth programs versus police patrol, I don't know if we really want to get into that debate about, are we providing the youth taekwondo as efficiently and cost effectively, at that level versus a police patrol kind of conversation.
No, I understand that completely. I just want to make sure that we're still getting the data so that we can make decisions on programming. So it'll be broken up in the budget in the future by demographic then? So
Yes, I mean,
the council will be able
if
to
you look
see
at it now, it is, because we do have youth, we do have seniors, we have special events. So we'll still be breaking it up in that kind of a fashion, but we'll break it up a little bit finer than that, because we'll do youth in season, youth during school year, youth outside of school year. We'll do aquatics a little bit better with in season, out of season facilities, as opposed to, we'll have outdoor facilities and indoor facilities. So you'll have a little bit better conversation about those kinds of issues, but you can get more of that demographics. We're not going to go to the point where I would sit there and say, when we talk about youth, we're going to talk about 0 to 12. I'm not going to say we spend $3,000 on 0 to 1, $4,000 on 1 to 2-year-olds. But, youth as 0 to 12, teens, I think we're looking at 13 to 19, and then adults are going to be 20 to 59, and then seniors will be 60 plus. If I got my numbers right.
Through the chair, I had a question for Stuart. Looking through this, the various breakdowns, teen activities and so on, it shows the income that is attached to the activity, but I'm not seeing that. Am I missing it for the aquatics? I don't see. There must be
The aquatics, we don't break it
significant
down
amount
that way, because in the larger budget, if you look at the revenues for aquatics is, I believe, 6 line items that I can add, or anybody who looks at it would be able to look at and say, here's the revenue for the aquatics. We could provide that information. It's just not the way that we do it here, because we're not looking at it program by program.
I see.
And just to let you know, the overall cost is the overall cost of the city net of revenues is probably close to $300,000 in any given year. And last year we were, in 14, 15, we were a little bit down in revenues because we had the pool closed for a portion of the time.
Okay. Yeah. I have a question on 171. The special events, it's $47,950. Is that the Festival of Lights and Day in the Park and the concert?
So if you turn to page, I'm almost there. 191. You'll see it's Day in the Park, the Brisbane Derby, the Brisbane Day at the Giants, the Volunteer of the Year, Lagoon Cleanup, Beautification Day, Festival of Lights, Concerts in the Park, Hydrant Painting, and Bike to Work Day.
Okay, so that includes, and what page was that?
Page 191 and 192.
191. It's kind of hard when you got to flip back and forth to all this.
Right.
I'm just.
Well, the way,
Yeah.
so the first page is just to
Yeah.
look at an overall
Right.
department. It's, when
Yeah,
you're looking
I
at,
understand, yeah.
so I wouldn't
see.
recommend looking at it back and
Okay.
forth. I would just
Okay.
recommend looking at it division by division.
Okay.
I have a question related to the special event. So how about Artist Evening of Sharing?
That's
I
a
know-
co-sponsorship, and that's handled out of the city manager's office in Division 0, I believe it's 0203. And co-sponsorship are those things that are, we do Artist Evening Sharing, we do Live at Mission Blue, we do in the past we've done the Shakespeare Festival.
BDW.
The BDW, if we provide money for the BDW spring performance, or things like that where the city council takes the action
Okay.
to do it. And the reason the artist evening and sharing is part of that is because originally the city council was the one who set that up
Okay.
as part of their stuff.
Okay.
And
It's in their
02, it's Division 205
Okay.
in the budget.
Okay, 172, anyone have any questions? No? 173? No. 174? 175?
I'm sorry, back to 174.
174.
The third line, sign maker materials. This is for the big sign. And it goes to zero in.
Yes, that's because we moved it.
You moved it to another budget that's outside of our.
No, we moved it to a different line item.
Okay.
And we put it under, on page 177, if you look at that, it's Facility 15 signboard. So we're accounting for all of our costs for the signboard separately under facilities.
Oh,
I see.
signboard. It's
F-15.
66,
6,600.
yeah. Okay. Thank you for seeing that, Kevin. Okay, so 174 is 175. 176.
Just to let you know, on page 175, this is where we budget for travel and training. So we do provide, as you see, enough money in there for anybody who would like to attend the CPRS conference once a year. So that's when we ask commissioners if they would like to go. Don't be afraid to go. We do
Okay.
have the money
You got-
budgeted for that.
Okay, where is it next time?
It's up here next to
Sacramento, Tricia's telling me.
NSA? Okay,
Sacramento.
okay. Okay, 176. 177.
So on page 176, this is where we account for the costs for for our facilities. And I know last year there was a request to do chairs and tables for Mission Blue in the community center. So if the commission is looking to do something like that again this year, we would need to know about that. So this would be where we would have that conversation under, this department expense.
Oh, so this is under service and supplies.
Well, and that's
Is he under there?
yeah, that's where it would be, because right
Okay.
now we're looking at it program by program. So if the commission would like to say that we would like to add $10,000 to Mission Blue to replace chairs and carpeting or something like that.
I wanted at the community center. The tables are taped on every corner. They're so bad. The chairs have got holes in them. They're stained. So we need chairs and we need tables at the community center very badly.
And if this is this the time to weigh in on the chairs? For
Well, that's up
Yep.
to the way that how the commission wants to do it. But I just wanted to
Chair,
make
is
sure
this
that
the
we.
time to weigh in? I just do want to say that the chairs up there, they were bought from IKEA. They were quite nice, and they've lasted a good long time. They are deteriorating, and we did have money in the budget last time. It was cut from the budget. I wonder if one of the solutions is there were originally about 200 chairs. It's probably down to about 160 serviceable. But I wonder if one of the solutions is to the community center is to
Get them for both.
well, or get new chairs for Mission Blue Center, and then pick the best 100 that are remaining and take those to the community center, because there is still a bulk of them that are fairly good.
Reusable.
Yeah, that are usable.
I mean, we had samples of ones that we had picked out. We had 2 chairs and we'd picked out these samples.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's IKEA, but it's not that expensive. And like I say, the tables are held together with tape.
Right. So anyway, I would put in a vote that we should try again to include in the budget new chairs for Mission Blue Center. And if rentals are down for Mission Blue Center and the facility itself is not being kept up to top shelf, maybe there is some relationship between the two. So I think it's valuable to keep that facility really at top rental and usage. So I would certainly put in that is one of the things that we request in the
So
budget.
it goes on this page, 176?
Yeah.
This would be where
Service
you
and
would,
supplies.
this is where I think you would want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And what we will do is note it. My guess, though, is when we're talking about chairs and new tables, it's going to be above it's going to be above our 2%, so it'll be just a new request to the city council. And my recommendation is maybe to have the chair and the vice chair meet with the liaison committee prior to the budget process, so that way or before the council sees the budget, so that way the liaison committee can have a conversation with the chair and vice chair to talk about what the needs are.
Okay,
Through the chair.
yes.
Definitely, we need the chairs up at Mission Blue, but, and probably some tables as well, because just doing the fair, I've noticed that they've diminished, and there've been some water damage tables that haven't always been replaced. But we did borrow from down here. That was great. But when we were up there just recently, a group of us noticed what poor condition the floors were in. They really looked pretty bad. And I think that really needs to be addressed too. And I agree with Kevin that if rentals are down, I don't think it's as desirable a place if it's not looking like it's really kept in top condition. My personal opinion.
Yes, we did discuss that.
Stuart, would it be your recommendation to include, if we were also looking at updating the flooring, to include that with the tables and chairs, or do that separately?
What I would recommend, what's going to happen is when I put together the budget, we're going to have a cost for chairs, a cost for tables, a cost, based on what we talked about at the facilities subcommittee, maybe a cost for the tiling portion and a cost for carpeting. And then I also heard that we probably should be putting in a request for emergency generational power up there.
Yes.
And what about the kitchen?
Yeah.
If you want money what would you want replaced in the kitchen, so that way we can cost it out and budget for it?
The counter, some of those cabinets, the floor in the kitchen. What'd you say about the community center? How's that kitchen?
We got new ovens, so it's better than it was. We had old stove, we got new stove, it was all donated.
Okay.
Seems like we'll have to prioritize
Yeah,
our
yeah.
desires for Mission Blue.
Yeah.
And I think we need some new painting at the community center. The walls are kind of scuffed. But they put wood paneling, and that seems to be a good solution.
I mean, what might make some sense is that we bring back some costs for your next meeting, and that way you can, based on what
Yeah.
you're talking about tonight, we bring back costs, and then you can prioritize the needs and let the city council know what your priorities are as a commission.
Okay. Okay,
And I'm assuming somebody else is taking really good notes.
okay. Okay, 177. Anyone? Okay, 178.
So then, now you're just going to go through the detailed pages
Yeah.
of those. What you just looked at is on the summaries.
There's no money for BES Fields upper.
Right, because we don't it's not something that we really use we don't have a need from a facilities perspective. So
Okay.
the maintenance of that is covered through the public works.
Oh, okay.
All maintenance is covered through, maintenance of facilities is a public works responsibility.
Okay.
This is just our costs for running the facility.
So Stuart, the 63,000 for Mission Blue then is just for staff that is present during events?
I believe so. I'd have to go look to see if there's anything else in that, but I believe that's the bulk of the cost.
It's staff.
Is staff.
And the revenues, is that what's already,
Well, the 15-16 is the budgeted revenues, is what we thought we were going to take in. If you look at 13-14 at 51,000, that's probably a closer number to to what we probably will end up with.
Okay. But you didn't take in 80,000.
No, that's just the budget.
Okay.
14,
Okay.
15, 16 are budget numbers.
Do you already kind of have, well, I'm sure some of it's already been reserved. How far are you, have it reserved, Mission Blue?
Sorry. We're booked out right now through every Saturday through the end of May, and then we have sporadic bookings throughout the rest of the year.
So how many bookings, about 25?
Yeah, but not all of those bookings are paid rentals.
Oh, okay, good, yeah,
Some are nonprofit, some are events,
okay,
city events,
okay.
BDW recital. So it does, the space, a lot of the space seems to get taken up. It's kind of maybe 50-50.
Okay,
Half the rentals are paid and half are not.
okay. Okay, 179. One night, or,
I have something on 179. So Sunrise Room, 23,000. What does that cover? Is that there's some programming, but that would be in a different.
Right. So this would be the
This is
cost for the
facility.
non-programming portion of the Sunrise Room. So you know how we have a person there at all time, during the day.
Okay.
This would not be when we were actually having that programming costs.
So it's salaries.
It's probably bulk of it is salaries.
Okay.
I'd have to go look to see specifically what gets
Okay.
charged there.
okay. 180. $181.
I have a question here. So the high school bus is the 95,000 is under youth. Shouldn't it be under teen?
Well, the reason is that this used to be money that was traditionally we contributed money to both the high school and to BES, whereas you see the BES has a BES contribution. That's the cost for us to be part of the JPA with BES. We had at that point in time what would be a high school contribution, and this is just where we had it located. That high school contribution got changed over into paying for the bus, and we just haven't moved it to the teen portion. But when we do when we look at it from a program perspective, obviously that would be a teen during school year cost. But that's what it costs us to run the bus to Pacifica for Oceana and for Terra Nova. And we get maybe about 15,000 back from the students. And the bus is completely full this year, which is different from previous years.
So this, again, isn't salary. This is
This is-
overall bus maintenance.
Well, no, this is what we pay Catholic Youth Organization to run the bus.
Okay.
So we contract with CYO for a bus to be run from Brisbane to Oceana and Terra Nova in the morning, and then another bus back from Terra Nova, Oceana in the evening, and then a late bus for students who are there to participate in after-school activities.
Have we ever considered purchasing a vehicle and staffing the driver? It seems that the costs are rather high for rental.
Well, the liability for a bus, and then you get into whole different kinds of situations when it comes to having to provide for people of different abilities. It would become very cost prohibitive. Running, right now, the type of license you need to drive a bus is different from the type of license you need for anything else. And it's not a position that is kept that you use throughout the day. It's an hour here, an hour there. So finding somebody who can do that is more difficult. Whereas with CYO, they run multiple buses throughout the day.
It's true, but if you're looking at 5 years, it being nearly $500,000, it seems like it might be. You still think it makes sense to work with CYO?
Personally, I do. I would be concerned about what the overall cost would be. If it was cheaper than this, then the school district would be running a bus. The school district says their bus service to Brisbane was costing them well over $200,000 a year. So, I mean, that would be the concern. If you talk, I'm not quite sure what it costs for this, Brisbane Elementary School District to maintain a bus and to run their bus for themselves. But also, CYO has also stepped in and done some free service for us when we've needed it for Live at Mission Blue. So that's a very good partnership that we have. We also are able to use CYO for our spring camp and our summer camp. So it's more that that's not included in this $95,000. Those are the costs for the spring camp and summer camp are included in the cost of the spring and summer camp. But it's just very nice to have this kind of a partnership where we know we can call them up at a moment's notice and have them participate in other kinds of things in town.
It's through the chair. So when we look at this $95,000 projection that we're going to pay to CYO, that's not just for the bus. That is, on their end, they're also paying for their insurance and for their drivers and for all that sort of training.
And gas.
And gas. So if we transferred that to the city buying it, we would, that $95,000 wouldn't just go to amortize for the cost of a bus. It would also be the insurance and the liabilities and the drivers and all
The
that.
gas and everything
sort
else.
of- so,
Yeah.
so it's not directly a transferable number. Do I have that? Understand that correctly?
Yes.
And that's just our fee, because they do charge the parents a fee. I think it's $350 a year.
We charge, and we get, as I said, we get back. It's about $15,000 or $16,000 that we get back in revenue.
Yeah, okay. Oh, so you charge
Well, the school district collects it, but it's based
Okay.
on what we charge,
okay. But
which
it
is based on what you could pretty much get from Samtrans. And if we were to try and raise the rate to pay for the full cost of the bus, right now we're at $16,000 because we cannot charge for people who are on free lunch programs. They get to ride for free. People who are on reduced lunch programs ride for a reduced rate. So if we, so to try and collect the $95,000, you would be talking about 6 times what we charge now.
Through the chair, question. So the 95,000, that is after we've
No,
collected.
that's what we have to budget for it. So if you were to look at page, I don't have revenues here because it's always iffy about it. I never know quite what we're going to take in. But what I would do is show that we would have a $15,000 or $16,000 offset in revenues. So the overall cost to us is probably about $79,000
Okay.
is on an annual basis.
But Stuart, looking ahead to page 184, where the breakdown is, and it shows the high school bus, it does not show an income line.
Right.
That is blank, because that goes into another place in the budget, or
Well,
it should show
It
there.
should show here. I just did not show it here. It should be on this. It should be on this line.
Well, what is it?
It's as I said. It's about $16,000 a year.
Okay, thank you.
Malcolm.
Okay,
So,
What?
no, on that same page, so sports camp, which is a new budgeted item for this year. What is sports camp?
Which page are
See,
you looking at?
I'm on
What?
page 170, 181, sorry, 181,
Okay,
C23, sports camp.
gotcha.
Yeah, these are the different types of sports camps that the city runs as part of the summer camp. So I think in the past Ken Walker has done them. I think in the upcoming year he's going to be doing it under his own auspices. But we also do. Somebody knows more than I do, obviously.
Last year, I understand that we partnered with National Academy of Athletics, and they're who will be offering the sports camps again this summer. So I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, what that figure is what we pay them, their percentage of the split for contracting those programs.
Yeah, because I thought Ken Walker was separate.
He is
He's,
now.
yeah, it's his own thing. Yeah, he's not. He just might, doesn't he just, does he rent Mission Blue when he does that? Okay. Now we're on page, if we were on 181, 182. I just have a question. Refresh my memory, Steve. Did we have a track team? Oh, Steve's not here. I'm look,
No, we
No.
canceled it last year.
I thought so,
Yeah.
okay. Any other questions, 182?
I see they only had 5 users on the track.
Well, they didn't. It was gone.
That's a budget number, so that's what we estimated we were going to get.
Okay.
I think we got 2.
And 183, we didn't have golf, did we? We did not. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yes, and I had a question for 183. This is, again, just to clarify the sports camp question. So we show last year no, am I on? We show last year,
I think it's the way he's holding it. I don't know.
hello? Yes, okay. We show last year no budgeted income, expense or income. The previous year, we do show.
Right, because the
sports-
previous year is actuals.
And
so
so why is
did-
last year missing?
Right, so when we did 14-15, that was something that when we put the budget together in March and April, we did not know we were going to do sports camps. That was something that was new in that summer.
I see, okay, thank you.
So that's why we didn't have a budget for that.
I have a quick question. Just remind me, what is kinder care as related to after school? What is kinder care specifically?
Kinder care is for the kindergartners only, and it's that hour of time in between when kindergarten gets out of school and the rest of BES gets out of school. So it's from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock for kindergartners only.
Okay.
Okay, 184. $185. $186. $187. $188. $189. Senior Club, that's,
Are you still doing that?
that's
So that's
every,
so that would be included in that would be the contribution we make to the seniors. That would be I think it's a $1,700 a month contribution, plus another $3,000 for trips, plus whatever staff time we would need to when we're to staff that.
okay. And that includes all this, the sunrise room,
Well, Sunrise Room is
All-
separate.
okay, so that's separate, okay.
This is just for our support of the
see.
senior club.
Okay, I
itself.
see with the whole total programs, okay. Okay,
Just one clarification here on, we're still on 190. And when we look at annual, can you hear me?
yes.
When we look at annual users,
There you go.
when we look at annual users, this is the thing you were referring to earlier, Stuart, about the numbers and how we quantify them, because 1680, that is not individual users, that is...
They're not unique users.
They're not unique users, right, exactly. So that was what you were referring to,
Right.
when sometimes the numbers look a little...
Right, because it's hard, it's hard to sit there and say, okay, so today Dolores came, tomorrow Bonnie came, and then the next day Dolores came again. We're not going to sit there and check, say, oh, that's only 2 users. We would say it's 3 users because it's 3 people.
Yeah.
And that's where, whereas when we have a class where you sign up for it, we can sit there and say, yeah, we know that this person signed up for this class. So that's where it becomes kind of a challenge. And then, so when you have drop-ins like Agile Aging, which is more of a drop-in because we don't charge for senior programs, I couldn't tell you. I have an idea of which seniors are using it, but it's a drop-in class, and that they're not paying for it, so they don't have to sign up ahead of time. So I can tell you that approximately 400 people have participated in all of the classes. Whether or not it's, and I can assure you that's not unique users, because I'm not quite sure we even have 400 seniors in town. I think we might have 600, but it would
Just
be really
for
close.
comparison's sake and for consistency, could we just average out the amount of users
We could,
so that we could compare?
sure.
I would think for programming or for that subcommittee, it might be helpful.
I think Agile Aging has really grown. It's gotten very large. People are constantly signing up for that.
I hear it's very popular.
Very popular. Husbands and wives. I mean, it's not just women, it's men and women.
Everybody ages, I've heard.
That's what I heard.
It's not just women who age, I've been told.
Okay, 191. I
Okay,
know that the program's Day in the Park. I know that it's already approved budget 15, 16, but I thought we asked for more money.
Right, and you didn't, and it was denied.
We're
You asked
gonna
for
ask again.
You asked for 32,000, and they didn't allocate the extra 10,000.
We're gonna ask again. Right, Maureen?
Okay, I thought that was for 14, 15.
That is for. No, it's
No,
for
I'm looking at
15,
15, 16,
which is this,
22.
which is the year that we're currently in.
Yeah,
So that was the day in the park that happened in October of 2015. At this time last year, you had
Oh.
asked for that to go to
Yeah, okay.
32,000,
okay.
and city councils, kept it to the 22,000.
Yeah,
I think
okay.
we spent closer to 25,000 or 26,000 when all was said and
Yeah.
done.
That's right, thank you.
And so if you're looking for more money, sometime between now and April would be a good time
Yeah,
to put that
Yeah.
out there.
Yes.
right,
We
Okay.
discussed it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the 30th anniversary of
yeah.
the Day in the Park. And we'd like to do some special things and need extra money.
I think there was also thought with having additional revenue streams to basically
Yes,
counter that as
exactly.
well, so.
Yes.
Okay.
Talk about that next month, when we're also looking for the costs for the Mission Blue update.
Right.
And kind of look at all of the additional requests.
Yes, because not only Day in the Park, the Festival of Lights too, I thought
That's over here
they wanted.
on
Yeah,
192.
yeah. Well, we're right there, 192, because it's like the
And the
30th,
concert.
the 30th anniversary for that, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, so we're going to do something big for that. So that'll be it. Okay. Anything for 192?
So last year, you had for hydrant painting, we budgeted to do a photo show of that, like we did the previous year. I know we haven't put that together yet. I don't know if you want to do a photo show every year for hydrant painting, because $2,500 of that $2,800 is for the photo show. So if you're looking at adding money in one area, you might want to. If you're looking at having this, because it's the 30th anniversary for the Festival of Lights, and you want to add a couple of $1,000s into Festival of Lights, this
Okay.
might be a time where you say, in 16, 17, we're not going to do a photo show. We would save that up maybe for 17, 18.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And just to let you know, we're actually looking at a 2-year budget this year. So
Oh, okay.
if you're so we're going to look at 16, 17, and 17, 18. So if you're looking at Festival of Lights and
Okay.
Day in the Park, if you want to have a bigger one in 2016, October of 16, then you're going to have in October of 2017. What might make some sense for you to show City Council is that we're going to go up for 1 year, but we're going to bring it back down in that next year. It's not going to be an ongoing cost for those programs.
What's Beautification Day?
I think that is the one where you work with the Open Space and Ecology Committee,
Okay.
where we provide food and we provide a little bit of staff time.
Yes.
And that's different from the lagoon cleanup. So this is the one where we do the canyon cleanups, not the lagoon cleanup.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, 193. I have a question on the revenues for Day in the Park.
Yes,
3,500, is that ticket sales?
yes.
Okay,
That's our estimate. You know, if you notice in 13, 14, we actually had an actual number. It was 2,400.
okay.
We were hoping to get more than we got in the previous year.
We discussed that, possibly raising some of the costs.
So it's ticket sales for the attractions, but it's
Yes.
also the vendor booths for arts and crafts vendors
Okay.
and the for-profit businesses.
Okay, vendors and ticket sales, okay.
Through the chair, and also the next line down, Brisbane Derby, when we have actual revenues, it's 1,300. The next year, there's nothing showing. Is that because it was in a different place in the budget, or?
No, it was, I think it was just that we, you know, when we were putting the budget together, we didn't really have good numbers as to what to put in 14, 15. You know, then again, then when we did it in 13, 14, we had better understand. You know, it's the problem is always you're putting numbers together so far ahead. So when we were putting together 14, 15 numbers, we were putting it together in January of 2014. So we didn't really have, you know, and if you look at 13, 14 actual expenditures, you know, we only had $15 in actual expenditures for 13, 14 because a lot of the kits we had were bought the previous year. So it's making that estimate. So we try to do a better job in 15, 16 at 4,500, and you know, our hope is that we get donations to cover all the cost of the kits.
So there's a slightly different. There's a significant jump in expenditures over the last real figures, and then we're hoping for a strategy of doing some underwriting fundraising to
Right,
significantly increase the actual revenues. Is that
Right. Well, and that's what we do. I mean, we go out every year and we ask businesses to underwrite the cost of the Derby kits, and we ask for a deposit from people to, you know, to when they take their Derby kits to make sure that they actually participate in the Derby itself. And that was the idea, is that basically we kind of think that the Derby is pretty close to self-funding. And that's what this shows.
And what's the jump in expenditures?
Just the number of kits that we need to buy.
Oh, okay.
Although I will say I think we didn't quite buy that many because I think we were slightly, Renee, I think we were slightly down this year in the number of participants. And I think that was one of the conversations I think the Derby group had after the, on your post, and how do we try and bring that number back up
Right,
again?
right.
If I remember in the recess of my mind some conversations that I heard after
Yeah.
the fact.
Another question, same page. Program description. Water Carnival. When did we do this and what was it?
Long time ago.
What was it?
Which one
we
are
had
you
like a
looking at?
festival
Oh, you're
of
looking
a
under programs.
swimming
So we did that a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
They had
Yeah,
little
because
games and
okay,
stuff.
that's right. That's what I'm trying to, because I thought, well,
Yeah.
yeah, that was,
Yeah, and we also haven't done a fitness fair for a few years.
yeah, okay, that I
We haven't
just,
done the Monte Carlo night for a few years.
yeah, I know the Monte Carlo, but I could not remember the Water Carnival. I think
Yeah.
that's right after the pool was open.
Yeah, like first 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then it
okay,
kind of
thank
faded
you,
away.
thank you for,
We need to update the program description a little.
yeah. Well, maybe we should bring that back.
Might work.
You know, actually, Silver Spot does a water carnival.
Okay.
And so if we were to do it, we would interfere probably with their fundraiser.
Oh.
'Cause
Oh,
they've done a water carnival at the pool, I think the last 2 years.
Okay.
As a fundraiser. So I would be hesitant
Okay.
To
to
start
try and
it
have
again.
2 of them. You know, one of the things that we did in the past, that was, I mean, from my perspective, was kind of cool, was doing movies at the pool
Yeah.
in the evening. That was kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
The problem is, you know, a lot of what happens in our town, we do it for 2 or 3 years. And then, you know, like the Monte Carlo night,
Yeah.
we did it for 3 years, and everybody felt, okay, I've done that now.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with the movie night at the
Yeah.
pool. We did it a couple of years, and people said, okay, we're done. And then the last 2 years, I think, Best has done it in the park. So again, we didn't want to interfere
Right.
with a fundraiser from a nonprofit.
We also had a fitness fair before.
We did a fitness fair, and that was, I think, in conjunction with the county,
Yes,
if I remember it correctly.
Right.
right.
And you know, it was another one of those things that we tried it a couple of years, and the second year we did it, it really did not have much participation at all.
Yeah.
First year was really good, but the second year,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, the participation just dropped way off. You know, and it's one of these things. I think, you know, with Noreen being relatively new now, and having the two new recreation coordinators, I think what you might see is some of the programs that we've tried in the past may come back, only because things cycle through, and as you get new staff, they sit there and are not aware of the history in the same way, and are willing to take on some programs again. Whereas, you know, me, who's been here for 15 years, says, you know, we did that 7 years ago and it died. I'm more cynical about it, but I do encourage staff to come up with new ways, because you have a new group of people and new ways to advertise, and you know, so it's always good to look at things with a fresh eye. I just don't want to be doing things that interfere with other nonprofits fundraisers.
Right.
Right. Monte Carlo night is now kind of spring thing, right?
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, those are the kinds of things that we just need to be very mindful of.
Right.
We're not in competition. We're in support
Right.
of.
Right.
Ooh, I like that. I have to remember.
Okay, 194. 195. I have a question about the Youth Advisory Committee.
Yeah, you're beyond me now.
Well, I don't know if they resurrected that.
They have.
It's our hope too.
Okay. So we'll leave that in for the hope. Okay.
This way. So you're looking at the guy.
Yes, Mr. Hope. Mr. Hope.
It's on. Well, I'm gonna try and bring that back.
Okay. 196. $197.
Do they have teen dances still?
Yeah. The aquatics, the salaries, there's, the part-timers, I understand. Who's the first
Steve.
one? The 25?
Steve.
Okay, thank you. And then the professional services, down at the bottom, 52235.
Okay.
Okay, where's that, on what page?
So that would
Another
be
page.
page 199.
Yes, I see it, okay. Okay. Anybody else on 197? Okay, 198. $199.
Since we're in the pool section, we did have some requests from last year for the lane lines.
Here, your microphone.
Sorry. Since we're in the pool section, I just didn't want to skip some of our asks, which were the lane lines for the pool and the painting of the pool office. I don't know if that's a section, but since we're
It would be.
in aquatics.
So my suggestion for that, since we're looking at a 2-year budget, and you know, being a swimmer, and I'm there a lot, and Jeffrey isn't here to defend himself as our new recreation coordinator in charge of the pool, I would suggest maybe looking at that as a 17-18 request, since you're looking to bump up your 16-17 request for Day in the Park and for the Festival of Lights. You might want to spread out some of those costs.
Okay.
And the lane lines are still fine. They're not they're worn, but they're still usable. The challenge, I think, from a pool staff perspective, is that the mechanics of them are worn. So new lane lines would be easier to take in and take out, but they're still functioning for now. And it would be, it's one of those things that from a budget perspective, if they completely broke, it would be easier to replace them than if they're still functioning,
Okay.
if that makes sense. When something breaks, you replace it.
Right.
Okay, page 200. That's it. Anyone have any other? Comments?
So the other one I think to look at is the, yes.
Yeah,
okay,
the
never
parks
mind.
and recreation fees. But I wanted to know if anybody else had any comments on what we just went through, the 200 pages.
No.
Okay. So the parks and recreation fees.
And just to let you know, normally what we do every year is we increase our fees by the rate of inflation, except when it comes to Parks and Recreation, some of the Parks and Recreation fees, because if we increase them by the rate of inflation, they might go up 5 cents. And we don't do that. We try and wait till we get to whole dollar amounts. And then if you remember and for the new members, for the pool fees, we re-looked at them just either a year ago or a year and a half ago, and we brought them into some kind of semblance of that made sense. So as opposed to doing everything by inflation, because what happened when we were doing everything by inflation, the costs for the passes went up while the costs for the day visits did not, because of the problem of increasing $5 by 2%. So I think what we would do is make a recommendation from staff to the commission as to is this a good time to raise fees for the pools? But for all the other ones that you look at, like for the facility rentals, for the park rentals, we would just normally do an inflationary increase on them. So if you want something different from inflation, this would be a good time to talk about that.
My concern is Mission Blue because rentals are down, so I think we should look at those numbers, see if that makes sense.
And that's what the commission said when we raised the rates, is that you were going to check to see how the rentals went, and if rentals went down, you would look at redoing them.
Yes, and I would second that. Do we have any sort of statistics or overview of how much we're lagging in rentals at Mission Blue Center, and if there's any cause and effect because there was a significant increase in fees, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or something like that? Did that indeed have an impact on it, and should we be maybe just holding steady to wait for? Is there any way to assess that?
I would. The year after we raised the fees was also in the depths of the recession, so we were going to go down anyway at that point in time.
Right.
But yes, I think this is one of those ones where you truly can say that the I pull out my economics degree here. The elasticity of rentals at Mission Blue is price sensitive, or Mission Blue is price sensitive. So the more we raised it, I think we did see an impact on that.
With the net result that we come up with less net income, potentially.
That seems to have been what happened.
Okay.
Tricia probably has more numbers about how people are renting it, though.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to get you some kind of a breakdown, I mean, I know since we raised it last year, we're getting definitely less non-resident rentals because that price is pretty steep. I mean, I don't know in comparison to other rental facilities in the area how we compare, but I do know that I get a lot of gasps when for the non-resident fee. If you're renting the full facility, it's $430 an hour.
Well, I know we were very compatible because we looked at that with other non-residents, with other facilities, and we kind of stayed with the same rental fee that they were for their non-residential.
Yeah, I think
So we were compatible to that.
I think I find that honestly, if people really want to rent it and they really want to have a party and they really like the facility, I get so many people that really like the facility. They've been at a party there, or they've seen it and they think it's beautiful, the mountains, everything about it. I think people that really want to have a party are willing to pay whatever the fee is, because as you say, I believe if you do go anywhere else close by, the fees are comparable. I mean,
If you would like, we could make a few phone calls between now and your next meeting and see what some other facilities in the area run.
That would be a good idea.
Just pardon the fact that this is my second meeting, so I'm still new to all of this, and as well as the information. But is it a function of the types of events that it's being marketed towards, or does there need to be a broadening of what it should be marketed as? I mean, I guess because my question would be, I've seen, living on the Ridge, I've seen the odd wedding and things like that there.
Well, they're not odd.
That was really odd. But you should have seen this guy.
Yeah.
But no, but
Sorry. I spoke out loud again. I should have.
what was I saying? But I guess my point is, or my question is, what has it historically been rented for? What have the greatest number of events been rented for? And is it more a function of, should we see it as a broadening of events that we should attempt to have there?
So over the 15 years that I've been here, and I think it wasn't open much more than that, it's really been kind of those family gatherings like weddings, quinceañeras,
Graduation party.
graduation parties. We have tried over the years to do corporate events there. We've had some corporate parties we've been able to do, but we've tried to do and we've tried to rent it during the day because no one's using it during the day for corporate meetings. The acoustics, if you've ever been in there for a meeting, the acoustics are hard to deal with. And that's, and we've tried to work through that with getting curtains to try and muffle some of the sound. But, we've had meetings from the city there, and the hard surfaces there just make, bigger corporate meetings harder to do. But from a musical perspective,
Yeah, if
I'll
I could
turn to
comment on
Kevin.
that. Ironically, of course, that's what makes it so great for live acoustical music. The facility does have those curtains, those big banks of curtains, and I don't know that I've ever been in there when the whole complement has been hung up, but I would imagine that would solve the problem. However,
then you lose the sight of the.
well, or you could even pull them aside, and it's only in the front. I mean, they're a huge damping element into the acoustics of the room. However, hanging those things, they have to be done by hand with a ladder. It's a major, major, major pain for whatever staff person has to set those things up. We had experimented early on with just hanging a couple panels for acoustical buffer and so on. And I know that was really an issue. The other thing is that the sound system up there that just comes with it is in bad repair and not of very good quality. We have a lot of difficulties when we use the microphones for pre-concert talks with mics not dissimilar to tonight. I think there's currently a speaker that's missing altogether. So those would be things that would impact its use for corporate meetings. If you could just flick a switch and put those curtains up there, I think you might be able to configure them, and you could have a solution to that problem. But hanging them has got to be a 2-hour task or something like that, up and down a ladder and so on.
So to answer your question, we've tried different ways to market it. It's just, it's the challenge is when we first started, the payback on trying to do the corporate wasn't really good. Part of it is that we don't really have a lot of good corporations in town that would really need a room that size. But that's, from a city perspective, that would be a great time to rent the room. Then we're not competing with any of our programs. We have, I think BDW has it rented or is scheduled every 3 out of every 4 Friday nights or something like that. Or Mission, I thought for a while they did. I apologize. For a while they did. We had that.
But we are getting a lot more activities up there now, and throughout. We have the art class up there on Wednesdays. We have the oil painting. We have the Tahitian dance now at night. So we're getting more activities during the week, which is good because we're filling up some time during the week. But as far as, like he said, as far as just rentals during the week, we don't get any outside people that want to bring in their rentals.
And those items aren't income producing. They're co-sponsorship or whatever.
Well, those are programs that we put on, so
Right.
so the instructor gets 80% of the take and we get 20%.
I see.
So from that perspective, it's definitely not income producing for the city because the amount of money it costs us to run Mission Blue is well more than what 20% of a Tahitian class will cost us during that hour. So, but again, you know, as I would say, we're not in the business to make money as a city. We're here to provide services and to provide a good quality of life for the residents and for people who participate in our programs. But if you have more ideas on how we can better do that, we're always open to try and find better ways to advertise, better, you know, we work with Black Tie Affair, which is one of the major, which does a lot of the catering up there, and we participate with them in advertising in Here Comes the Bride.
Here comes the guide.
Here Comes the Guide. I was so close.
I get a lot of emails from that, from people that see us in that. So, and I do have to say, I've never yet, as long as I've been here, had anyone ever complain about their party up there. I get people that call me all the time and tell me how great it was and they love the facility and just everything about it. So even with all the quirks and little things that need fixing, people just love that facility.
And one of the nice things about that facility versus others is we allow whichever caterer you want to come and use it. I know when I was looking at facilities for events for myself, either my wedding down south or stuff up here, a lot of facilities say you've got to use this or that particular caterer. So being able to bring in your own catering, or for some families, not having to worry about having a caterer and bring your own food in is really a benefit. So we try and work with people that way. But we're always open to new ideas because, you know, that's not what, for the most part, that's not what we do for a living. We don't advertise. For some reason, people just give us money just because. Oh, tax. Send them a water bill and they pay me most of the time.
So for the Mission Blue rates, would we want to consider lowering those again and perhaps get some recommendations from staff as to what that might look like?
I mean, what I could do is I can bring back what the Mission Blue rates were before you raised them.
Yeah, that might be nice.
That'd be a good idea,
That'd
Be a good
help.
place to
Yeah.
start.
so we can compare.
Yeah.
And that we'll do that, and we'll bring back a comparison of other facilities
Okay,
That'll
for your
help.
next meeting.
okay, thank you.
Because I know the way that this spreadsheet works, I've got all the old rates. It's just they just drop off because I don't need to show them every year.
Any other questions on park and recreation fees? Okay, I'm going to move to the assigned new commission chair and vice chair. Oh. Okay. Okay, excuse me, I'm moving ahead. Okay, everybody, you have your Parks and Recreation Capital Projects list. It's underneath all my other.
So for the new members, do you want to give a little background on this list?
This has been going on with the commission for, I know when I first was on the commission, 94, we've always had a kind of set goal, what's our projects we want to establish, long-term, short-term, etc. And what you see in front of you is some continuation of that from previous commissions. And we're still working on it. And some stuff that we have done, we've already taken off because they've been completed. So this list right now are the 10 that we thought were the most prioritized.
Prioritize.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't talk sometimes.
There were a couple, just real quick before you get any further, there were a couple of items that were previously discussed by the commission that didn't make it onto this list, but we just wanted to resurface it so that you guys can have a conversation about them. And they included the small pool, the potential dome over the swimming pool, and dog park lighting. So those are 3 other items.
Oh, okay. So now I guess we just kind of go through, we just had a facilities subcommittee and we talked about some of this too. So now we're gonna go through as a commission now and see what you guys think is the top priority now, and we'll kind of,
Can I just interrupt really quick?
Yes.
So the top 4 that are on here right now, this was from the previous meeting, I believe it was last June, when we reprioritized after some of the completed ones were going to come off. And so the top 4 at that time were what are the top 4 now. Don't know if they're the top 4 still, so.
okay. Thank you. So I'm just gonna open it up to discussion and see what your feedback is.
You want to just go one at a time?
Okay, so the restroom storage, that would be up there at Lippman Field. As you can see down at the BES field, that's where we had, that was on there. We've completed that. How many years has that been in now?
I was thinking 4 or 5, but when I said that, you thought it was a little bit less.
Yeah.
And just to let you, so the background for the Lippman one, part of it is that this has been on the list for almost as long as since I've been here. Right now, up at the Lippman Field, we have a porta potty that is there that we service. This became a bigger issue last year when we closed the pool during the winter, because then there was no restroom. Nowadays, if somebody's playing soccer on Saturday and the pool is open, they can go. If they don't want to use the porta potty, they can go from the soccer field over to the pool, and they can use it. Pool isn't open all the time, so it becomes a problem for that. Also, if you're playing over at Silver Spot, the Tiny Tots lot on Solano Beach, great, old job, on Solano. There's really no good place for you to use a bathroom. So if you have a 3-year-old child and that child needs to go to the bathroom, you kind of have 2 choices if the pool isn't open. 1 is to go home, and 2 is to go use a porta potty. I don't know about you, but when my kids were 3 or 4 and just learning how to go to the bathroom, using a porta potty was not my highest priority. So having a more permanent structure there would be more conducive. It'd still be a little bit of a walk for people who are at Silver Spot. And Renee was talking earlier today, and I think Steve was in agreement that it would be more towards the pool side of the Lippman Field area. So it would be somewhat closer even for people who were using the Tiny Tot lot. So that's give you a little bit more background as to why I think this raised to such a high level last year. Did I do a good job remembering my life, Renee?
Beautiful.
Thank you. Through the chair, 2 questions about this. First of all, what's the price tag? I mean, what's
So the BES one was about 80,000. This one we're estimating somewhere a little bit north of that, maybe 90 to 100,000.
And then a second question is, we are currently maintaining these porta potties, which is an ongoing expense.
Yes.
And how does that ongoing expense compare to maintaining a permanent structure? Is there a long-term cost savings?
I think we're spending about $300 a month on a porta potty, so it's like $3,600 a year. So if you were to compare that to the cost of electricity for a bathroom as well as water and sewer, it probably isn't you wouldn't have a savings from that.
It's a wash.
So, yeah, what's the cost? Because you probably have to have staff open the one down at BES.
Well, the one at
correct? You've
BES
seen
is
that?
on a timed lock.
Oh, okay.
And so, of course, the challenge with a timed lock is it times out at some point, and we have had people who are stuck in there.
I hope they had a phone.
They did.
Huh.
But, so, I mean, there's ways to do it. I think what we would probably do is have it assigned to somebody before,
Yeah.
the challenge is how often do you have the bathroom open? So, we would, you'd want it on the weekend, so maybe the person who's, maybe talk to the police department, and hopefully they'd be able to open it up early in the morning because they're always around, and then lock it up at night. Because then that's the other question is, do you want a bathroom open 24 hours a day? Probably not, because you don't know what's going to go on in the bathroom at wrong times of the day. So, it would be open maybe during the daylight hours. So you're right, Renee, you would need to figure out how do we open and close it during daylight hours. And then maintaining a bathroom is very different from maintaining a porta potty. I don't think you'd want to have the same level of sanitation in your bathroom that you have in a porta potty.
So, Stuart, the council, you said that this has been on the list for as long as you can remember.
It was lower down for years. So last year was the first time I think it raised to number one on the list. I think last year was the first time that City Council saw it as a request from the Parks and Recreation Commission. Because if you remember, we did the bathroom up at BES, and then we did the playground. So this was not the top priority for the commission until last year. Because I think I know where you're going to go with my question as to why has it taken so long, but it just hasn't raised to that level. I think we've done a lot of other things in the meantime that the commission has been trying to get done, and we're now up to this item.
Do you remember what the council, what was the council's hesitation?
$100,000.
funding this? Did they
The
have?
money.
But did they have any other? Did they feel like there were not enough users? What?
Well, I think the feeling was that the pool was, the pool issue was a short-term issue, that the porta potty was still available, that there are a lot of other unmet needs within the city. They were adding staff to deal with some of the regulations that we're dealing with in Public Works last year. It's that trying to do everything that a city and a community wants to do. It's just a very difficult thing, and there's always certain things that just don't get done in any given year. The city manager is working with the city council now to try and develop more of a long-term strategy on how do we create additional funding for other additional needs that we have in the community.
But since this is school district property, I don't know if we can do some type of joint partnership with the school district and to get this done.
We could. I mean, the last time when we did the BES one, the joint partnership was they let us put it on their property.
Pretty much it.
I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but I think that was the conversation. It was that we paid for it. We designed. We had to pay for the design. We paid for the transportation. We paid for putting it in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I know.
didn't mean to be mean to the
But I
school
just
district.
know that the
apologize.
one magazine that we got with Park and Rec equipment, there was, one of those module prefab bathrooms that you could.
Right, and that's what we did with the BES. So if I remember my numbers correctly, the cost is $40,000 in site preparation for the BES bathroom to level it, to to move the power line down when we brought it in, to set up the sewer line and the water line into it. I think that was a $40,000 cost, and the prefab cost of the building itself was $40,000. And that's why why they're thinking $50,000 for something like this, between the cost of the building and the cost of the site preparation, because you need to have it level. Otherwise, they're going to have all the children rolling downhill.
Well, what we really need is a real cost, what it's really going to cost, because just guessing.
Well,
Maybe that-
until we bid it, the budget number is going to be $100,000. Until you bid it out, you don't know what it's going to actually cost, because even the cost of the bathroom, you start talking about until you get a particular vendor, you don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
You don't know how they're going to travel it down. If I'm not mistaken, the bathroom that we have at BES drove down from Washington State.
Okay.
And and then how do you so there's that cost. So until the budget number is going to be $100,000, it's going to be plus or minus from there. based on what the actual design and everything is.
What does everybody want to keep that as number one?
I think so.
I think we should
Let's
go
look at
through
the-
them all and then
Okay.
Rank.
Okay, number 2, security lighting, Old Quarry Road, install lights along the pathway. And this has been an ongoing one too, and also to get that paved or asphalt.
from our subcommittee meeting, it looked like it would cost somewhere between 10 and 20,000
Just for the lights?
for the lights. And a reminder that we are also budgeting additional 10,000 for trails. So we can think about that as well.
But I know that this was a reason that we wanted this on here, for people that walk their dogs at night. And also at one time, and maybe it still goes on, there was just some questionable activity going on down there. And just to, if it was lit up, maybe it would deter that activity. So that was that. Yes?
Through the chair, yeah. So what exactly does security lighting look like? Is it like nicely lit up boulevard?
I think it's like the lower level, like like when you have like low level bollards with lighting on them, so that way you can light the path and you can have some kind of vision. You don't want to make it so bright that it actually interferes with issues of night sky and people looking down on it and thinking it looks too bright. So it would be more of just being able to see the path.
And if-
Are we talking waist level or?
That would be my thought.
Okay.
And that, when you start at the end, like, you could see if there was somebody down at the other end and, ooh, I don't want to go down there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think important for the morning walkers also.
Yes, that's true.
And then when you call it security lighting, you move it into a community safety perspective, as opposed to just a recreational walking perspective. So it sounds better.
Yeah. And then the CPRT improvements,
So just to let you know, for anybody who's acronym challenged, CPRT is the Crocker Park Recreational Trail that goes behind all the buildings.
yes.
So people at home who watch this, if they're, as I understand that,
Okay. Crocker
acronyms
Trail.
confuse people at home.
So is this where the 10,000 additional budget comes in, Karen?
So, yeah.
In the past trails, the trails budget has really, and correct me if I'm wrong, Renee, has been about the trails themselves rather than amenities along the trails. So the actual trails, rails.
Yeah, because this just deals with Crocker Trail, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So, sooner or later, there's going to be money there's the money that we have set aside from the sale of land from the Schenke property. You need to appoint a new person to that subcommittee because that committee, it's a joint committee between open space and ecology. And Bonnie got,
No,
Kevin got.
Kevin's on.
Okay, so Kevin is on it. So at some point, we will have a meeting to talk about how to use that money. That may be money that might be useful for something like this.
Stuart, remind us of that number.
I don't think we actually had a number for the amenities themselves. because
No. From
Oh.
Shenki sale.
350.
So it was around 300,000, but 50,000 of that was used for the pedestrian bike master plan. So I think it's around 230 to 250 that's left in that fund.
Okay.
And the 10,000 put aside for trail improvements, that was brand new last year. That was a recommendation that the Parks and Recreation Commission made last year that we got that it stayed in the budget. And the Trails Committee last year talked about using that money to put towards the pedestrian trails in town between roads. And the big one, I think, is the step down on
San Benito.
San Benito
San Benito.
to Alvarado.
That's
Right.
not a $10,000 project.
Yes, just to clarify though about this $250,000 and the joint committee that I've been assigned to.
You haven't met
Those
yet.
those funds there will be competing interests within the city for how that money's spent. That money does not necessarily mean we've got that free and clear to do with as we please
No,
for
I mean,
this. There will be a larger discussion and priorities set and the money split up, or perhaps it won't go to Parks and Rec at all. Is that correct?
Correct. You're in it's a joint meeting with Open Space and Ecology. Open Space and Ecology, my impression, having served on that, worked with that commission, or that committee as well, would be more towards preservation of open space versus improvement of existing trails.
Okay.
Because we gave up open space when we sold the land, so I think their perspective would be, how do you preserve open space, or how do you make open space more accessible, not working with existing trails.
Okay.
So you have to be very convincing.
Okay, on to multi-use facility, the teen center, which
That one is coming down,
Yeah.
and if it rains a little bit more, it may be coming down sooner than
So-
we thought.
we're going to eliminate that off, but with a back note that the city does own that property. So possibly in the future, there could be a new community center, recreation center put there. It's just a back footnote.
Along those lines, Stuart, do you think it might be a good idea for our commission to think about our needs as a community for community center space and what that would look like, especially considering moving out of the existing library and freeing up the second floor? Do we need to start thinking as a commission about what we need?
I
the
think so,
community.
and I think that's, on Friday, the strategic plan portion may be a really good time to really delve into that conversation. Is what is it that we're trying to provide? What are the amenities that are trying to be provided to this community, and why are we providing these amenities? And what do we already have? Where don't we have enough kinds of amenities? I think Friday is a very good start to that conversation, and I think more work that you do on that conversation, the more justification you get when you start having the conversation with City Council on why you're recommending different priorities.
Along those lines, does it make sense for us to, and we can discuss it today, but hold off on our projects list and our priorities because they should align with our vision and what we discuss on Friday?
Yes, and that's why I would suggest that you don't finalize anything until April.
Okay.
But if there's something missing on the list that somebody sees right now, I think that it would be perfect to bring it up, either on a facilities perspective or even on a program perspective. So that way, the whole commission could start thinking about what kinds of programs are we not providing, and talk about that a little bit more on Friday as well. But unfortunately, you only have 2 hours for Friday. This could take, if we were a corporation, we'd be doing this for a 2-3 day retreat to figure out what it is that we wanted to do.
Okay, the bocce ball courts, community park.
Do we have a cost for that?
We haven't
I
looked
know.
at this for years.
Yeah, that was brought up. It's still, and we talked about it, and we're gonna, we kind of thought in the facility subcommittee to keep it on. So,
I can ask Public Works to give me a rough estimate as
Yeah.
to what they think it would cost to build bocce courts.
yeah, with fencing.
I think we should leave it on. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully, eventually it could happen.
Yeah,
I think it sounds fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good opportunity for active recreation.
We had citizens that wanted it. That's where the request came
Yeah.
from.
Turf renovation, the Brisbane Elementary School, lower field on San Bruno Avenue.
The city doesn't do anything for that?
Well, we
No.
would. I mean, we
It's
maintain
our-
the field.
Well,
It's not the city, the school.
No, the city maintains the field.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
part of the
they-
JPA. So that allows us to be able, we schedule the field in non-school hours.
well, that's it. See, we have that on the, Lippman too, which is the next one, both the fields.
I'm sorry, what is JPA?
joint powers agreement.
Okay.
So what it does is it allows us to be able to use school facilities.
So it is a school facility.
Yes, the field is.
We maintain it and use it in its off hours
Yes,
for both schools.
yes.
Yes. And then the gymnasium at Mission Blue, which would be over there on the corner by the baseball field.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And
this
we're
was,
talking about building one?
yes.
Oh, that was years ago, and I think we picked the pool instead of the
Yeah.
gymnasium.
Right. So this was when Mission Blue originally got
Yep.
built with the townhomes and the condos. There was a certain amount of money that went into a facility fund. At that time, there was a conversation about, as Renee said, about building a pool, building a gymnasium. The pool had been a desire of this community since from when I listened to the people who have been here for a very long period of time, since the 60s. They've been always been looking
Yes.
to have a pool. So the pool had top priority. The question about the gymnasium, which, as Renee said, would be at that corner, from a staff perspective, is building buildings is easy. It would be expensive, but we could always figure out how to build a building. Staffing a gymnasium would be very difficult because it would be more than just a gymnasium from a basketball court perspective. But I think the thought was having it be more of a community center where you'd staff it full time. You'd have to figure out how to run it and the additional expense, the ongoing expense of maintaining it. And that's where I think a lot more of the difficulty is. And the money that's coming off of into the facility fund from the landmark homes is going towards the library, which is another high priority for this community.
And I remember before the gymnasium was going up there by Mission Blue, there were plans that it was going to be at BES on the upper playground where the portable was. That was where they were thinking of it, because I saw the blueprints that years.
So now you're talking about in the 90s at least.
Yeah. And that they picked the pool too over that at that time.
I think the pool's been very successful.
And also then, we talked about before at the Baylands, a gymnasium, and also on the next page, soccer field. Down the line, that could be a possibility for both of those. And then there's the West Hill Mini Park along Crocker, and I still can't think where this is located at. Visualize.
I'd have to look at a map. As I said, I'm not quite sure. I know that there's been recent talk about maybe potentially making that into another community garden.
Yeah.
Right now, we have about 20 we have about a 20-person. Last time I heard, we had a 20-person wait list for our community garden. So the community garden has become very popular.
Oh,
And then Noreen, what were the other three things you said? You said the dog park lights.
It was the small pool, a dome at the pool, and dog park lighting.
So for the dog park lighting, that would be putting a light on the far end of the dog park, so both ends of the dog park would be lit. For the small pool, it would be a pool that would be big enough to be able to have some kind of therapeutic class in it. Because right now we're not going to keep the large pool heated to 85 to 90 degrees, which is more appropriate for a therapeutic pool. And then for the covering of the city pool, the pool itself. So back in the 1990s, when the pool was discussed, there was, one of the models that was looked at was the Highlands pool, where you can have a pop-up cover for the winter months. I looked into it when we talked about that last time. I looked into it. The challenge for us is that when the pool was built, it was not built for that purpose because it was not built with the anchors in the concrete. So from whatever time the commission talked about making that a possibility to the time that it was actually constructed, somebody made a decision that that they were not going to do that. So if we were to retrofit it, it would be, we'd want to dig into the we'd have to go into the concrete and put the base into it. And then the next question would be, what kind of a cover do you put on it? And then if it's a cover that you take off, after the winter, where would you store it? So there's a lot of questions before we would be able to move forward with this. Not to say that it shouldn't, if you want to see it, it shouldn't go on the list. I'm just saying this is not going to be something I think that we can easily resolve in the next year or two. And then I think the question that came up at the facilities committee is, would it make a large amount of difference to the use of the pool? And I think I think the answer to that is, being a lap swimmer, I don't know if it would really impact lap swimmers that much at night, because most lap swimmers are willing to do whatever it takes to swim. Where it would be beneficial is more for weekends, where, for families to come in and use the pool on a recreational basis.
And how about the small pool? Where
So,
would it be?
So this was raised by one of the commissioners last year about wanting to have more of a therapeutic pool up there. I'm not quite sure where we would be able to fit a pool large enough to have a therapeutic class up there, while at the same time having it not impacting the existing facilities. But this was, this was an issue that was raised last year at the commission, and the commission did not say, no, we don't want to see it. So that's why we want to make sure that we brought it up at this point, so people don't feel as if we were leaving things off of the list. But I'm not quite sure where we would put it. That would take some more investigation for us as well.
I would just like to add that there is a resident in Brisbane who has put a therapeutic pool into her home and has been very generous about letting those who need it use it. So we might be able, that might factor into.
Yeah. Also, one of our past commissioners, Chris Hart, he has one in his backyard.
He's got one of those infinity, lap pools.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that Anderson Swim and Scuba in Pacifica put one in about 2 years ago, and it's in a very small place. It might be interesting just to look at how that's worked with putting, what kind of space it takes, and just, it's the only thing off the top of my head, knowing about someone who has that type of pool.
Is there anything else anybody would want to add to this list?
I would like to add,
Go ahead.
let's grab their microphone first. I'd like to add community center in there, because I think that we need to keep that in a discussion at the top of the list, is my opinion, because as we're looking at library and moving out of the current location and teen center, I think we need to keep that discussion first and foremost on the list.
And I would, I know we have a huge long list, and it's going to be hard to prioritize it. But if I could put on the list, and it was on here 4 years ago when I was on the commission, that is signage for Mission Blue Center. And we talked about, and we even looked into it a little bit. We were looking at something like a $30,000 price tag, and this is the kind of signage that you can plug in, so and so's wedding tonight, or Live at Mission Blue presents, a running banner kind of thing. There's not good signage for Mission Blue Center of any kind at the moment, and it would also perhaps make it more attractive, when we go through the rental question. And I know that may not make it to the top of the list, but maybe we could put it on the list for discussion nevertheless.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that you haven't talked about tonight that I know has been kicked around at the commission, and I'm really surprised, Renee, that you didn't bring it up.
I'm probably thinking of it and going to say it.
Go ahead. You go first.
The kayak.
No, banners.
Well, you know what? I was thinking that, but I thought that would have to go under.
But you didn't bring it up during the regular budget either. And neither did Kevin.
That was under Public Works.
No, it's kind of like event.
It's an event banner.
But I was kind of, I thought about it, but I kind of thought, well,
I'm not
we
here
need to go to the subcommittee. But yeah, banners, definitely.
I mean, it's one of those things that I know that has been talked about at the commission, And, I think that should be on the list for the budget as an extra item that would be in addition to what we normally
Okay.
ask for.
Yeah.
I'm just,
I would agree.
Seasonal banners.
yes.
And I know,
And then you're right, there was and I apologize,
Yeah.
Teresa, she's right, we did leave off the kayak launch, but I know that the marina's has been working on that for years, so let me check on where that is, but let's put that on the list.
and didn't you say that we were no longer dealing with the marina? The marina was now separate? I thought I
Yes.
recalled you saying that at
It is.
previous meeting.
So
don't
we
like
would
that.
still deal with those things that are tangential to the marina, like like the green space and things like that. So depending on where that where a kayak launch would be, it'd be an interesting question. But I know that they've been looking into it. So let me ask Public Works where they are on that process.
And I was just asked last week from two residents that said, what's going on with the kayak ramp? So there is still interest out there for it.
I will have somebody remind me to send an email to Randy.
Whose job is that?
They remind me. Usually Trish.
I saw a hand go up.
You,
I was gonna say usually Tricia's, but Noreen's
you
volunteer.
guys have anything you'd want to?
Looking at I don't want to have a list. Looks like my daughter's Christmas list where there's 100 different things, and I know that numbers 11 through 100 are pipe dreams. So, in my way of thinking, I think the more reasonable and smaller the list is, the more realistic it is that some of these will get done, because it sounds like a lot of these things have been sitting there for years, which is great, but it's not like there's an endless pot of money. If there's an endless pot of money, show me where it is. But to me, I would say, typically in my own business, I winnow this down to say, what are the most realistic things that we can get achieved in a 2 to 3 year period of time? Because otherwise, you're going to have something that sits there for 10 years. And as I look at this list, I know from my own personal interests, those things that I think that are important, but might not be important to other people. I've played soccer and tore out my knee because of uneven playing surfaces. So when I see things like torn up, or I know from my own experience of coaching my daughter's team up at BES, there's a huge danger there. And to me, that makes more sense in security. But then again, if you go down the list, everybody's going to have, here's my 1 through 10. So I don't know. I don't know what the short answer is to that.
Well, I didn't know if you had any other that you'd want to add. Okay. Lyle, do you? Okay. Well,
So the other one that we probably need to put on the list at some point, another wish list item, is additional space up at BES for after-school programs.
oh, yes, yes.
The modular right now is barely adequate for the level of number of students that we have there. It's inadequate when it comes time for everybody needing to be inside for rain. So right now, when it rains, which thankfully it's doing a lot right now, we're in the cafeteria at the school. But it would be better if we could have a bigger space for our programs up there. And as far as keeping things on the list, the way we work is, government is here for the next 100, 200 years. So the way that, one way to look at it is you say, we're going to keep things on the list, and what we're going to do is we're going to say, we would like these things, we recommend these things get done in the next 1 to 5 years, these things get done in the next 5 to 10. And you get the hint, after you get past 5 years, we relook at it and say, okay, let's rethink about what that order is. But if, it's one of those things that we don't like to forget things that people have raised in the past. That's why the list seems to be
Yeah.
a wish list from what everybody would want for Christmas, because in fact,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Okay. I'm going to move on to, is that it, or did I cover everything? Okay, good. And miss papers underneath others. Okay, we're going to assign the new commission chair and vice chair. Okay, here we go. I'm going to turn it over. Well,
I would like to nominate Karen as the chair.
I second.
okay. Any? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You're gonna
And
have
for
this.
vice chair, I'd like to nominate Kevin.
Oh, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It is done. Do I hand it over now, or do I finish the meeting?
We have
What do you want to do?
secretary and
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Are we going to-
secretary.
or clerk, whatever we call
Yes.
it. We'll call it
Yeah.
secretary.
We've had Teresa. You want to stay in that position, Teresa?
I don't think I was not in it previously, but
You were.
I thought you were. And you were concerned with what it involved.
So as secretary, you take over when the chair and the vice chair aren't around.
Yeah, it was Madison.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
It
I
was
don't-
Madison.
it was
It was
not me,
Madison.
Yeah.
Oh, and then she left
Just-
us.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
How about Teresa then, as secretary?
okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you want to take on over, or do you want me to finish?
I think you should finish.
Well, thank
And
you.
thank you, Renee.
Well,
for-
yes, I
for-
want to thank you for the last, since 2014.
Yes,
It's
you've
been
done
my-
a very good job.
It's been my
Renee.
my pleasure. My pleasure, but it'll be kind of nice to sit over to the side.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
years of leadership.
Thank you.
Do you give lessons on how to use the gavel?
Yes, you know,
It's a
it's
very
good.
firm hand.
Okay, we're going to go to reports. Chairperson, I have nothing to report. Subcommittees, subcommittee reports. We just have one. Do you want
Teresa,
to?
you want to do concerts?
I will do concerts. We met earlier this week. We arrived to find that all but one day of the 6 had been booked, and we didn't really get our chance to give input. So we discussed that and how to change that in the future. One other day was added, so it gave us 2 days to add music, and we gave some recommendations for those. We also decided to do food trucks. We're going to try and bring in food trucks every night of the series, perhaps 2 trucks a night, maybe. I am going to be doing some research on that. I recommended one vendor, and I think David also recommended that he could give a list of vendors that he's used in his personal life, at work life. And that's really where it stands. Am I forgetting anything?
No,
No. Okay.
that seems like pretty much. I guess we'll meet one more time.
Yes, we will meet one more time. I don't recall that date offhand, though. Sorry. I don't know if we chose a date yet. Yeah. Okay.
Great. And then the facilities, since I came late. got in.
We covered basically what we talked about today.
Mhm.
On the priority list, we looked at that list and we discussed, and so we have shared with everyone our thoughts on that. That's about it.
Okay, was there any other subcommittee?
Yeah, we met Day in the Park and
Okay.
Derby. But we needed Renee because we don't know anything about the Derby.
Oh,
We have no idea.
so you met, so what happened?
So, pretty much, we were planning it because, being the 30th, we would like another 10,000 so we could do zip line and all those other things that we wanted to do. Teresa brought up the dog costume, having dog costumes,
Yeah.
that we would do that. Trying to think what else.
Building out a beer, or having a beer wine garden
Yes.
as a way of A, bringing in revenue, and B, keeping people there for longer than 2 or 3 hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
And evidently, there's a letter here from Noreen, or it was online.
We have a letter.
Yeah. About the beer garden.
Yeah, I'm,
And
Oh,
through the chair, to that end, the letter is suggesting that we meet.
microphone.
The letter suggesting that we meet with the subcommittee, which is, I believe, either Madison Davis or Lori Liu, or both of them. And I was going to ask the other subcommittee members who would like to do that, or should we do it as a group, the 3 of
We
us?
should do it as a group.
Okay. So would you like me to send that email?
Yes.
Okay, I'll
Please
do
do.
that, and then I'll,
Mhm.
any preferences on?
Are
it
they
was
the
recommended
you mean the
here After
liaison?
7
The
PM.
liaison council?
Yes.
Park and Rec? Okay.
And it was recommended best held on a weeknight after 7 PM. So does that work for the 3 of you?
It doesn't make any difference to me what time.
Typically, that's fine. But
Okay.
for me, it'll be somewhat week dependent. So
Okay. I'll try and gather a few dates and then send it out.
Okay. Any other subcommittees?
Habitat Restoration Day met with OSEC members, and we it looks like we've decided on the area as you're going up toward Mission Blue on the right side, that open space right there.
Was that definite?
We've decided on, but I think we're still looking into exactly who owns the space. Does it make sense?
Exactly.
They're strongly considering it for Earth
Yeah.
Day. And then looking at Sierra Point Canyon for the summer, the July project. So those are the two sites right now.
Okay. Any other subcommittees? Okay. Commissioners, anything to report, commissioners? Anybody?
We had someone here. I was wondering, he left. I don't know what he was here for.
He might have been, was he the new staff?
No,
Oh.
he was sitting in
Yeah,
the
I know, I
audience.
saw him, yeah.
It's Trevor, who's one of our head guards from the pool. So I don't know if he was just observing or.
Oh,
Okay.
he
Yeah, I
left,
knew
so
I
didn't
saw
know if
him
he wanted to
before.
speak.
Yeah, I knew, I was going to ask him after the chair, but he left. Okay.
I had a citizen ask me about programming and how it splits up between the different demographics. Does it make sense? We have the right proportion of classes, say, for seniors versus teens or youth, depending on in relationship to the demographics of our city. So that seems like something that could be looked at by the subcommittee, program subcommittee. And I don't know if they're planning on meeting, but that could be interesting.
Who is that?
Program subcommittee. Where is that? Did it fall off?
It's Lyle, Teresa, and David.
Oh, there it is. Recreation programs. Okay. Lyle, Teresa, and David. So
Okay.
just
So you guys should meet.
I didn't even know I was on that one.
Yeah, you're on that one.
It's a new one. I forgot.
Oh, there it is.
Really?
just a recommendation,
Okay.
suggestion.
Any other commissioner? Okay, staff. Programs report.
So we don't have any new activities since the last time. Everything we have now, the yoga's going really well. The Tahitian dance is going really well. But today, Steve did come in with our yearly Brisbane Giants tickets. So those are going to go on sale March 23rd, I believe, after 5 p.m. It's going to be April 22nd, Friday night, 7:15 game against Miami Marlins. So those tickets will go on sale on the 23rd.
The photography class, that didn't fill for the first, didn't get the minimum number for the first. When does the second session
It's
begin?
April 10th?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it's April 10th. I'd have to give you an exact date, but I do know it's toward the beginning of April. And the two people that signed up for the first class went ahead and signed up for the second class, but we still haven't gotten any other people to sign up.
So people can sign up right now, and
Yeah.
we need a minimum of 6.
I think she was willing to do it with 4 or 5.
Four, I
We just
believe.
need a few more people.
Yeah.
Right.
Sign up for what looks like an excellent class.
So, and I'll put another sign up. The sign did generate some people calling, but then they just didn't end up signing up. So it's generating interest, but we're not getting the registration.
So we can put it up on the board, perhaps.
Yeah, I can put it up on the
That'd be
board
great.
prior to, like, a week before, get some interest going, hopefully. If I can get it up more than once, I will. With the weather, the signs don't stay up that long. So
That is true.
we have to keep, putting them back up. So I try to work around the weather situation.
And for anyone listening, what was the day and time of that class?
It was every other Thursday night, I want to say. maybe like a 6:30 to
I
8:30,
think it was like a 2 or 3 hour
Alternate
Yeah.
class.
Thursday.
Yeah.
alternating Thursday
Alternating
nights.
Thursdays
Okay.
at Mission Blue.
Thanks.
And then I just had a couple of other updates. So our summer activity guide will be out on April 1st with registration for residents on April 5th and non-residents on April 12th. We've also lined up several of our incoming summer camps. We were able to get some Minecraft camps. We have Legos returning, Shakespeare will return, and the National Academy of Athletics is running about 6 or 7 different sports-themed camps. In the next few weeks here, we have our spring break camp at Club Rec, March 28th through April 8th. And then those of you who didn't meet Ricardo this evening, he was sitting here, but we're going to bring him back along with Jeff for the April meeting so that we can introduce both of them to you guys. They're our new staff on board, and we're slowly getting them up to speed. And then lastly, the third concert for Live at Mission Blue is on March 19th.
Yay.
And then this Saturday is the oil painting? Yes.
Correct. He's doing a workshop this Saturday. It's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I believe it's $110, and the last one went really well. He was really happy with the.
Is that at Mission Blue?
It is at Mission Blue, correct? So, yeah.
Okay, commission matters. Written communications, I don't have any. The commission calendar, are we booking any?
Oh, we've talked about many things. I did write down that we want to bring back costs for the Mission Blue upgrades and the community center upgrades. I think Stuart said we would bring back some costs on those. And then looking at the Mission Blue rates to see what they were previously and what the registrations were to those, and then possibly getting some comparable rates
Right.
from around the area. I'm sure there was many other things we talked about, but I don't know if those were things we wanted to put on the agenda, so.
Okay.
Would the facilities subcommittee be interested in looking at those costs before the next meeting?
Who's on that?
So I'd suggest that we have another facility subcommittee meeting at 5:30 before our next meeting.
At 5:30.
It worked well. I mean,
Yeah,
Oh, before the next meeting?
Yes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
so that'd be April 13th.
April 13th at 5:30, yes.
Okay.
PM.
Oh, you don't want to be here with me? I'm here usually at that time. Okay, facility sub.
Let's see, should Day in the Park meet? Because
Probably.
they'll be talking about what they would like to request in the way of
Right.
funds.
I think we should meet. And the concerts have to meet. Right?
Yes.
And Festival of Light should meet. Is that its own subcommittee? Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't bring the list that I have. I do believe there is a subcommittee meeting on March 23rd, and it's escaping me which subcommittee
I
it
think
is.
it's seniors.
Is it? You're,
Let me look,
that is it.
what
No,
is it?
it's
Because I'm
seniors.
putting
She's
in my.
correct.
I'm on that one.
It's
I
seniors.
know you are. I think it's seniors.
It is. So who's ever on seniors, just a heads up, there's a meeting on the 23rd. You're right.
Yeah.
I remember now.
That was the 4 o'clock.
Correct.
I have four.
What day was that? The
4:15?
23rd of March?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't have it in here.
I just said 4 because I remember it was early. 4:15.
I know, and I have another appointment.
Through the chair, we had the Public Arts Subcommittee was supposed to meet, but was canceled because Stuart was unavailable. Should we,
We should try and
we
meet.
should try to meet that again. It's not urgent, but we need to continue moving forward with that.
Why don't I have that in here?
Yeah, we need to do that. Yes.
So Renee, if that doesn't work for you and you can get Kevin and Bonnie to do a different date, I can just change it.
What doesn't work?
The senior
Oh.
meeting.
I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't have it in here.
Yeah.
I remember us
discussed it.
talking it.
Yeah. Also, April 11th and 12th, they're having a safe driver's class at the Sunrise Room.
Okay. That's good to know.
And it's a 2-day affair, 9 to 1 o'clock, 2 days. And you have to attend both days.
Can you either you guys meet on Tuesday, the 22nd?
At what time?
No, I can't.
Well, there you go.
How about the 24th,
What day is that?
Thursday?
Yes?
Are you okay? I'm okay.
What time? At what time?
Yeah, is this
We
same
had
time?
4 o'clock or 4:15 is what we had originally.
4 o'clock is good?
Okay.
Okay.
No, usually, I don't know.
Thank you.
So seniors.
Thank you for rearranging that.
24th,
24th at 4?
4:15, he said.
Well, I had 4:15 on the 23rd, but 4 o'clock is fine.
Okay.
Okay.
4 p.m. Got it.
Okay.
All right.
Put it on the
So
calendar.
seniors on the 24th at 4, facility subcommittee meeting 5:30 before the next meeting on the 13th, and then day in the park, concerts, festival of lights, and public art. I will try to get a hold of everybody and work some magic. So please respond to me. Thank you.
I'm pretty open, like I say. Most times there's no problem. The 22nd was my anniversary, and my daughter had said we're going to go to a movie and have dinner somewhere, so I'm not alone.
Okay.
That's why I say I can't make it.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't have that. Oh, I hope that's not gonna. Okay.
Got it in?
Yes.
And one last thing through the chair. If you haven't seen the photo that we took at the last commission meeting, it is up on the city website under our page. It turned out really nice. So you just take a look on the city website. Yeah.
So Renee,
Oh,
your final.
yes, my final hitting.
Thank you, like I said.
I'm going
you
to
did
call-
a great job.
The meeting adjourned for the last time at 8:37 p.m. Thank you all.
You did a good job, Renee. Some difficult times.
Good night. Good night all.